Hey, Chris from the Mighty Decibel here. Welcome back. We're going to be doing a Hidden Gems episode today. This is where we shine the light on bands or albums that we believe deserve more attention. So every country, it seems, outside the U.S. have bands that have escaped international fame and fortune. And this episode, we're going to be looking at it from my country of residence perspective, Canada. So there's a bunch of Canadian bands out there that are big in Canada but didn't quite make it internationally. And that's who we're going to be covering today on this episode. So, as usual, we'll attack this chronologically, this time by the date that the band was born. So, in this case, we're going back to 1973 for the birth of Max Webster, so often seen as the weird cousin of our beloved Rush. They were a band that used some quirky, weird song structures and sounds but were seemingly on the verge of international or at least US breakout when they unceremoniously broke up on tour supporting Rush. So, for us headbangers out there, I would point to the band's last record, Universal Juveniles. It's their heaviest and most straightforward release. Beautiful stuff here. Check it out.
Check. Check.
One, two. Check!
2 years later, in 1975, Goddo was born in a suburb of Toronto, Ontario. So the band were this close to making it here in Canada, didn't make it internationally. They never stepped past the perennial opening act for international bands. But a lot of that could be put on their own shoulders as they continued to lighten their sound when they should have put more heavy stuff on their albums. That said, in a live setting, the band knew where their bread was buttered by playing all their loud stuff. So check out their double discer Best Seat in the House. So for some early sleazy metal, really good stuff. But if you're into studio material more, I would point you to their debut, self-titled debut, as their best and heaviest. Also in 1975, Teenage Head were born out of Hamilton, home of the despicable Tiger Cats to us Toronto Argonauts fans. So the Teenage Head were a early punk rock act, aggressive, with a mix of rock and roll swagger and humor. They achieved notoriety here in Canada as they were the hosts of a good old rock and roll riot here in Toronto. It seems that a gig was sold out and some people swam the moat to get to the gig, and all sorts of hostilities occurred after that. Unfortunately, they weren't able to break it out internationally. For our decibel-loving fans, I would point to their last album, Teenage Head, with Marky Ramone. It is a reworked versions of all their, I would say, their best material, with Marky Ramone sitting on the drum kit. Superior production here, and the song selection is amazing. In 1979, Fist, or Mayo Fist outside of Canada, were formed in Ottawa, our nation's capital. So they played a quintessential bar band version of early metal, what Martin Popoff would call poverty metal. However, lightning struck in 1981 when they issued the unexpectedly strong Fleet Street. So it contains old school toughness propelled by some keys, along with hoarse vocals by lead guy Ron Chenier. So there's 5 songs that you can extract here and put on any early metal best of list that you've got going. And the concluding Fleet Street Open the Gates combo makes for one of the better concluding 11 minutes of any disc in that era. So ignored internationally, as in their native Canada, go check out Fleet Street. Notorious in Canada for being charged with obscenity violations for their ultra non-PC album covers and lyrics. We're talking about Vancouver's Dayglo Abortions. And if you want to pick up an A1 hardcore punk album with a pinch of crossover, look no further than 1987's Here Today, Guano Tomorrow. Excellent stuff. In 1982, just 1 year after Max Webster's dissolution, the guitarist, singer, Kim Mitchell issued his self-titled solo debut EP. So I've always thought this EP was the logical progression that Max would have gone towards if they'd stayed together. Only 5 tracks, but all of them are memorable, hook-filled, radio-worthy hard rock. pretty much a religion or even a cult here in Canada, is Kingston, Ontario's the Tragically Hip, who were birthed in 1984. So here was a band who had a unique mix of classic rock, hard rock, masters of light and shade, with a lead vocalist who was basically a poet. He unfortunately passed away in 2015, signaling the demise of the band. Now, obsessed knuckleheads will likely say that all their albums are classic. But for you metalheads and hard rockers out there, I would point to the 3 albums issued in the 92 to 96 period, but specifically Fully Completely, where Chris Sangreeds of Anvil and Judas Priest and many others fame smoothed out their quirkiness and hardened up their sound for us classic rock and hard rockers out there. So I saw the band live twice during this period, between 92 and 96, and I've never seen more adulation thrust on a band, whether they're international or national. It was just amazing to see. In the shadows behind other native thrashing units like Razor, Sacrifice, and Voivod were Dead Brain Cells, formed in Montreal in 1985, who issued 2 albums before dissolving in obscurity. So DBC, as they were known, specialized in thinking man's metal, with some foot in crossover waters as well. So lots of speedy stuff here, intricate rhythm work, instrumental skills really high. I would point you towards the debut. Next on our list of relatively obscure Canadian acts is the Real McKenzies, who were birthed likely in a back alley of a seedy bar in Vancouver sometime in 1992. So Celtic punk is their stock in trade here, embracing everything Scottish. So this is one of those few bands who continues to improve as their discography goes on. Some of the best material are coming out now. I would point to Rats in the Burlap from 2015 and Beer and Loathing from last year. Now, these guys should be mentioned in the same breath whenever anybody brings up Dropkick Murphys or Flogging Mollies. Criminally underrated.
Them got a wild wall, saw the 42nd marching to the Brummie wall. Some of them had tartan cruisers, some of them had native dolls, some of them had kilts and sporters marching to the Brummie wall.
Last on our list is Woods of Ypres, who were formed in Windsor, Ontario in 2002. So some might say that this doom band is well enough known that it shouldn't be included on the list. However, I'm pointing to the debut era where they were an excellent black metal band who produced Canada's greatest black metal album of all time, in my opinion. Against the Seasons, Cold Winter Songs for the Dead Summer Heat. Amazing stuff. I was lucky enough to witness the band play the album in full in the same running order at an extreme metal festival in Toronto. Raft attention, and the response when they finished, they just played it straight through without a response until the end. Wow. I'll always remember that one. Now, if you go looking for this, make sure you pick up the remastered version, as it contains superior production. So that's it. Thanks for joining us. Remember to join in on Monday for another new Release Monday podcast, and check out our website, www.themightydecibel.com. Have a great one. Bye.